Coming up on Secrets of Bizarre Buildings. The return of the Jedis to the bizarre building made famous by Star Wars.
This is the cradle of Star Wars. This is where it all starts. This is where it begins.
The shark that brought terror to an English suburb.
The police came by and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm putting a shark in my roof." And they grinned and walked on. There wasn't anything they could do.
And Mexico's most revealing attraction.
Living inside a naked woman is great.
You are about to leave the normal world. What you're about to see is real, though you won't believe your eyes.
Oh, wow.
What you're about to see are solid structures of brick, stone, and concrete. Structures they said could never be built, and structures they said should never be built.
That ought to come down. The good old Oxford people who I know say that ought to come down.
What you're about to discover are secrets of bizarre buildings. The world-famous university city of Oxford is renowned for the dreaming spires of its amazing colleges, but none of them make as big a splash on the city skyline as our first bizarre building, the Shark House. The Shark is the work of American abroad Bill Heine, who has stunned, delighted, and infuriated his neighbors by turning his entire house into an astonishing work of art.
I guess I was called every name under the sun, including some I had to look up in the dictionary. But I didn't mind that. There was one lady who's now dead, unfortunately, but she kept screaming that it lowered the tone of the neighborhood. Well, I actually thought it probably increased property values, and in fact, that's exactly what it did do.
The new resident of the Oxford suburb of Headington appeared without warning one morning in 1986. It didn't take long for the authorities to smell that something fishy was going on.
I remember the day I put it up. They sent amazing waves of people down here, including the police. And the police came by, and they stopped, rolled down the window sternly, and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm putting a shark in my roof." And they grinned and walked on. There wasn't anything they could do.
Bill commissioned the 25-foot-long fiberglass shark from his friend, the sculptor John Buckley, who returns regularly to check it isn't going green around the gills.
And I said to him, I said, "Well, if you want to make an impact, have it going through the roof." And he thought for 30 seconds, and he agreed. I mean, amazing, really.
Appearing at the height of the Cold War, the shark was intended to be a message about living in crazy times.
It was a time, it was almost an Alice in Wonderland time, when almost anything could happen. A bomb could drop into your house, or a shark could erupt. And we wanted to catch that flavor and ask the question, just how safe are we from the decisions by people in power?
The shark's impact was felt all over the world.
I remember the day after we put it up, the cultural attaché of the British Embassy in Afghanistan sent me a newspaper from China saying, "Congratulations, you made the back page of the China Daily Worker." We didn't expect that at all.
17 years on, the shark still has an effect on everyone who sees it.
I think it's become a part of Oxford now. You know, the tourist bus come here, and it's on the tourist trail. So it's wonderful.
The shark's biggest fan is undoubtedly neighbor June Whitehouse, who has changed the name of her house to Shark View and holds the official title of Sharkivist, documenting every report and article about the shark published around the world.
I like the shape of it, the curve, the colouring. So far as I know, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. And although it was a bit of a shock at first, I just think the whole thing is absolutely beautiful.
June has even written a poem celebrating her bizarre neighbor.
Sing a song of Oxford. My tale is but a spoof. 24 seagulls were sitting on the roof. One of them espied the shark. The birds began to sing. What a dainty fish this is Bill Heine did us bring.
Held in place by steel girders, the shark has weathered everything the English climate can throw against it, though the house has fallen into disrepair. The storm of controversy, meanwhile, rages as strongly as ever. City Councilor John Power led a campaign to have the shark taken down.
I think it's appalling. I think it's a victory for anarchy that it's still up there. A victory for American anarchy, if I may say so, as well.
Bill had to go all the way to the Houses of Parliament in London to get permission for it to stay put, but the argument won't go away.
I think it's bloody well appalling.
Why?
Well, look at it. Just look, for example, look at this, the hole in the roof.
Councillors were not elected on their artistic judgment. You may have 3 ducks crawling up your wall for all I know. You should just stick your nose out of it.
That ought to come down. The good old Oxford people who I know say that ought to come down.
We wanted to focus on politics to see what actually happens, to lift the lid on politics,
No.
and we see that it's petty, it's puny, and it's pusillanimous.
Yeah, but with great respect to you, my power comes from the people, not from anybody else. And we asked the people in this street what they thought of it, and the majority of people in this street said that it was wrong, and we followed what the majority of people in this street said. It was people's power against you.
Can they shake hands and patch up their differences?
I don't have any problem with shaking hands.
Shake hands.
No thanks. Not on film.
It may have sparked a war of words, but Bill still believes his shark speaks for itself.
When I walk home in the evening and the sun's going down, it's shining on the tail, and there's a little robin sitting on the top singing its heart out. There's nothing that can beat that.
This fish out of water is truly one of the world's most bizarre buildings. Strange on the outside, weird on the inside. It's the House on the Rock, one of the world's most bizarre buildings. When eccentric odd job man Alex Jordan built this crazy construction on Deer Shelter Rock, Wisconsin in 1946, he had no idea it was to become one of the most eye-dazzling spectacles on Earth, a madhouse of the imagination, attracting 500,000 visitors every year. Alex intended it to be a retreat from the world, but so many curious bypassers came knocking on his door, he ended up charging admission to get in, and now it's one of the Dairyland State's biggest attractions.
Alex was constantly told while building this that it couldn't be done, or it wouldn't work, or it just wasn't architecturally sound, and that would only fuel his drive to do something. Once you told Alex he couldn't do something, that only made him want to do that more.
Inside the house is a wonderland of stone passageways, stained glass, and oriental decoration.
Definitely totally original. Everything's beyond like imagination.
Alex did not travel. He would send people out traveling for him and find these collections and bring them back to him.
To the untrained eye, it all looks crazy, but there was method to Alex Jordan's madness.
What Alex built it for and what he really meant for it to be is a trip through his imagination. He wanted people to come in and use their imagination and see things and use their imagination to try to figure out where it came from or how it was built or where he collected it.
Alex's greatest triumph took him 40 years to realize, but the result was a stunning victory of vision and determination over gravity and common sense. It's the world's only infinity room. Protruding 140 unsupported feet out over the valley below, a walk to the end is not just a feat of bravery, it's a test of faith and the trip of a lifetime.
Oh, I'm getting nervous. I'm going back home. It's unreal. And when you walk out there, it moves. It goes up and down. It's kind of scary.
The Infinity Room was built as an optical illusion. When you walk out into it, it appears that the room goes on forever. People generally run the gamut of emotions. Some are very excited to get into the Infinity Room. Others are very apprehensive to go out there. We've got many people that will not go to the end.
We have strong winds in Texas. I wonder how this will stand the strong winds.
Oh, it makes me want to grab onto the structure. So.
Okay, the baby's enjoying it.
It may seem scary, but it's actually deceptively safe. Built to support 200 pounds per square foot, the Infinity Room can be totally packed with people and still not flinch so much as a girder. Alex Jordan's astounding creation made him millions, and he spent his money on a huge series of buildings at the base of the rock into which he exploded his amazing imagination. Visitors are stunned by the world's largest carousel. Valued at $4.5 million, it comes complete with 269 real and mythical creatures, not one of which is a horse.
Alex was fond of carousels, had seen them before, but again, in true spirit of Alex, he wanted his bigger and better than anyone's. So the carousel was actually built here at the House on the Rock. It took just about 10 years to build. The carousel is actually 80 feet wide by 35 feet high. There's over 20,000 lights on it. The carousel is definitely one of the highlights.
It's an experience that leaves visitors literally speechless.
People are always amazed, always just wowed by it. They never know quite how to explain it, but it's definitely something they're going to remember. Everyone would agree that it's amazing, one of a kind, very unique.
Music is provided by the Mikado, a phantasmagoria of oriental opulence, and a creepy thrill fest rolled into one amazing mechanical organ.
Alex definitely felt imagination was the spice of life, and that's the spirit of the House on the Rock. Only someone with an incredible imagination could conceive and build an attraction like this.
The House on the Rock isn't just a bizarre building, it's a homage to the strange splendors of the human imagination. Coming up, feel the force at Luke Skywalker's homestead.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers. Cheers.
The bizarre building that fooled the pirates.
There's a story in our history book that says a pirate looked out through the mast, through the viewfinder, and said, elephant. And they took him down. They thought he had been on the sea too long.
And the mystery of the giant pineapple in the middle of chilly Scotland.
If I were the lover and my lover built me a pineapple on top of a building, I would probably walk away.
A long time ago, in a desert far, far away, Star Wars creator George Lucas discovered an amazingly bizarre building. Sidi Driss in Matmata, Tunisia was so out of this world that Lucas chose it to be Luke Skywalker's farmhouse on the planet Tatooine. Today, legions of Star Wars fans brave the sandstorms and Saharan heat to come here and feel the force of this bizarre building.
First of all, we're looking forward to it. It's kind of like the Holy Grail, Star Wars.
It won't be something that's in our head. It'll be something we'll be experiencing, something we won't be viewing on a television screen. We'll be there, and I think that's the experience we're after.
You're actually seeing the things that you've had in your mind for like over 25 years, watching the video over and over again. And finally you're here and you can touch it and you can feel it and you can smell it. And it's just amazing.
And to be on those same steps and be able to actually holler, Luke, Luke, it's going to be pretty amazing.
Purely magic. That's what I'm looking for.
900 years before the droids, Jawas, and Jedi Knights rolled into this North African town, the people of Matmata built their astonishing underground dwellings to hide from invaders. Today, they are only too pleased to see them. Thousands of fans pour in every year to visit the building known as the Star Wars House, and in their own unique way, pay homage to George Lucas's amazing vision.
So, how do I look?
Congratulations, you've taken your first step into a larger world.
Well, the robes, they are the traditional Jedi robes. When anybody sees it, they will immediately think of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But actually, they are pretty common robes in Tunisia.
Thanks to George Lucas, Matmata is well known now, and there is more tourists than before.
Yeah. So what do you think, huh?
Sidi Driss first appears at the beginning of the original Star Wars movie. It's the place where Luke Skywalker lives with his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and where he first meets the droids C-3PO and R2-D2.
Well, the Hotel Sidi Driss is probably the most important location in the whole Star Wars saga. So this is the cradle of Star Wars. This is where it all starts. This is where it begins.
Wow.
And as you can see, these are the steps that Luke walked up. And he didn't film them completely because you had the illusion that he walked up all the way to the top, but he didn't.
In an amazing collision of ancient and modern, the 900-year-old building is adorned with futuristic fittings from Star Wars and its sequels.
It's fantastic. You know, it's still in really good condition, surprisingly.
Kind of just brings the Star Wars universe a little closer and the fans together.
Look at this, it's real. We can touch it, we can feel it. And I just had one of the guys come over to me and said, is it okay if I weep? You know, and it does give some strong emotions to be here after all these years.
These exclusive photos show the set being constructed and the reclusive director himself at his hotel during filming in Madmata.
George Lucas basically chose this place because of its alien look. The architecture in Tunisia is unique. You don't find it anywhere else in the world. And then when you look at these pit dwellings, the troglodyte buildings, it's unique and it has a very alien look.
This isn't a closed set. It's open to everyone, and you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to appreciate this bizarre building.
I've never seen the Star Wars films, but I think this place is strange.
But if you are a Star Wars fan, there is one ritual you can't miss out on. You must enter the Holy of Holies, Luke Skywalker's dining room, decorated just as it was in the film.
This is still here from 1976, isn't it?
And if you are brave enough, drink the same drink as your hero drank in the classic scene from the movie.
Blue milk, yeah. You would think that we would bring blue milk, wouldn't you? And yeah, we did, yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's okay. That's okay.
So, who wants a sip? Well, since you obviously cannot buy blue milk here on Earth, but you do need it on Tatooine, we brought our own. Cheers, mates.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To finish the day off in here is a perfect ending to the day, and it's something I think we're all going to remember for the rest of our lives. Or as C-3PO says, thank the maker, this is going to feel so good. Goodness gracious me.
To our generation, Star Wars is very important because we live in tumultuous times, we live in times of conflict, and Star Wars is the basic story, the fairy tale about good versus evil. And even though the dark times, they bring a lot of dark tidings, nevertheless, the good will always triumph.
Okay. Whether human, alien, or even droid, there's no denying it. City Driss is one of the world's most bizarre buildings. Scotland is famous around the globe for its castles, lochs, and misty mountains, but it's less well known for its amazing Pineapple House, one of the world's most bizarre buildings. Why a 45-foot-tall tropical fruit should be built in stone in the chilly Scottish countryside is just one of the mysteries of this 240-year-old building, constructed by the eccentric 4th Earl of Dunmore. Thousands of visitors each year are drawn here from all over the world by the incredible spectacle and the lure of unlocking the puzzles of this strange and enormous fruit.
I'm sure he's got a reason for doing this, but
a very bizarre reason. It's a very bizarre building. I heard that it was for a lover, apparently. I don't know if it was for a lover, and if it was, let's say if I were the lover and my lover built me a pineapple on top of a building, I would probably walk away. Tell him it's over, tell him thank you, and I'd walk.
Oh, that's not very nice.
American student Amanda Beam has heard about the mysteries of the Dunmore pineapple. She is studying in Scotland and has come here today to look into some of its enigmas.
There is a lot of mystery about why it was built in the first place. Some think that it was for a wedding present, some think that it was to commemorate the growth of pineapples in Scotland or in Europe at this time because it was really rare. But really there's a mystery to why it was built, so I'm hoping to learn more about that today.
Even the name of the architect of this strange fruit has been lost to history, but whoever it was created a masterpiece. In an age before concrete or molding, he made the pineapple of the finest masonry, each leaf and dimple protected by its own intricate drainage system from the ravages of the Scottish climate. Unblemished by time, it still has the power to amaze.
Oh, wow. It does look much like a pineapple. The leaves are really great. I think that just an ordinary person seeing this is going to think that it's really bizarre, especially in the 18th century when no one had ever seen a pineapple before. I mean, if you didn't know what a pineapple looked like, you're surely going to wonder what in the world this fruit is, or this piece of architecture is, because it is rather strange. I can definitely picture a group of aristocrats out here with their tea parties, their garden parties, playing any sorts of games that they would play out here in the garden with this as the background. It would be extraordinary to be here at that time.
Amanda has agreed to meet Susan Biggs, the pineapple's caretaker, to find out more.
you, Amanda. Come in.
Visitors who ask permission are allowed to go inside the pineapple room Lord Dunmore himself used to entertain and astonish his friends.
This is a nice view. Susan, why is the architect unknown?
Well, it's believed that the Georgians and the Victorians were displeased at the whole building, really, and so perhaps whoever designed it or whatever wasn't willing to admit to it at the time, and it certainly wasn't a building that was recognised as a masterpiece.
In the 18th century, the pineapple looked over greenhouses producing real versions of this exotic fruit. Pineapples at this time were the ultimate luxury item, the equivalent of a sports car or a Rolex watch today. The rich sometimes put them on gateposts as signs of welcome. But why build one as staggeringly enormous as this?
It was an amazingly bizarre building that's as much loved today as perhaps it was then. And people travel from miles all over the world to come and see the pineapple building.
As mysterious as the Dunmore pineapple is the ghost that is said to haunt the garden at the rear.
The story of the Dunmore pineapple ghost is a woman dressed in a black cape with a hood up. She apparently walks over here, over the grass, and disappears into the fields early in the morning.
Could the Green Lady, as she is known, have had anything to do with the giant fruit's construction? If you don't mind things that go bump in the night, you can even stay in the pineapple. Renting the rooms on either side of the ginormous fruit certainly seems to have an effect on everyone who comes here for a holiday. It's a pineapple lover's paradise. You'll be amazed at how this bizarre building can get the creative juices flowing.
I really think this is truly one of the world's most bizarre buildings, and it should appeal to anyone who has a taste for architecture as well as good fruit.
It may not tickle your taste buds, but this puzzling pineapple is certainly food for thought. Coming up, it's called the House in the Clouds, but nothing is quite what it appears.
You cannot imagine what's inside. Most houses you can look at, can't you? And you have some idea what's inside. You look at this building and you have no idea what's inside, have you?
The building that gets some folk dancing and some folk hopping mad.
The traditionalists find it a little scary, the traditionalists don't like it, and I'm sure that lots of traditionalists complained about this building.
And meet the man who lives inside a naked woman.
This is my bedroom!
We're in Prague, capital of the Czech Republic. But it's not Gothic spires or Baroque elegance that brings us here, but an office block that literally danced onto the show. It's the Dancing Building. Not everyone in Prague is fond of this addition to the city skyline. Some have even compared it to a crushed can of drink. Irina Fialova has written a book about this modernist mind-bender.
Originally, it was the building on the Rashin embankment. It's the location of the building. But then when the models were presented to the city, it was nicknamed the Fred and Ginger building because it looked like a dancing couple, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
More traditional Czechs didn't like the association with Hollywood, but couldn't deny it was a building with a natural sense of rhythm.
The local people call it Dancing Building, which is quite a nice name.
It takes two to tango, and this bizarre dancing building was the work of two visionaries, American architect Frank Gehry and Prague-based Vlado Milnouch. Its weird shape only began to form as they tackled the problems of the space they were given to build in.
Because the lot is very small, so the building just had to sort of burst out of it, and it stepped into the crossroad.
And the building got even weirder when the neighbors saw in the plans that it would get in the way of their view.
The moment when the building really started to dance was the moment when the neighbors, which were in this building, were complaining that they lost the view of the castle. And Frank Gehry tried pinching the glass tower in, like creating a waist. And that was the moment when the building started looking like a woman.
So the Dancing Building was born. The Fred building holding out a steadying arm to catch Ginger as she shimmies out onto the street. For Ginger, practicality is secondary to beauty. It's so difficult to clean her windows that professional mountaineers are employed to do the job.
Seeing the mountaineers go up and down is something so beautiful. It's like seeing them on a rock, which originally was on this site years ago.
Ginger may grab all the attention, but Fred is worth a look too. The windows seem to leap up and down like musical notes. Each wavy panel he is made of is unique. Fred's top hat is an Eastern European onion dome given an amazing modern twist.
It fits into the texture and rhythm of Prague, like if it was here forever.
Inside the building are offices and one of Prague's chicest restaurants, serving up not only great food, but also wonderful views of the city. It's a great place to sit and ponder what this bizarre building is really all about.
Well, I can understand it's called the dancing building from the shape of the building, and maybe it's shaped a little like a dancer.
I can see why maybe he didn't really want it to look like that.
But when you see in the guidebook that a building's called the dancing building, you kind of expect there to be some maybe movement, maybe the architecture's moving a little bit, which of course it isn't.
When it looked like that, he said, yes, I'm not going to change it, I like it, I'm going to call it the dancing. And I think that's why.
The traditionalists find it a little scary, the traditionalists don't like it, and I'm sure that lots of traditionalists complained about this building.
And it's beautiful, and has a lovely atmosphere about it, and everyone's friendly, and everything, I can't fault it.
To the people, it's the dancing building, but to the architects, its strange shape has a very different meaning. The building that originally stood on the site was bombed by American airplanes in World War II. As the chaotic curves of the new structure took shape on the computer, the architects wanted to remind people of the previous building's violent demise.
That may be also the reason why it looks so bizarre, because in fact it is the first building in the world built using this three-dimensional computer program.
A bizarre building, but a strangely beautiful one that has found its way into the hearts of the people of Prague.
It is very tiny. It is a tiny building, a beautiful jewel we have here in Prague.
Come and see Fred and Ginger for yourself. You'll believe that concrete and glass can dance. So far on Secrets of Bizarre Buildings, we've seen the shark that raised the roof in Oxford, England, the dazzling imagination of Wisconsin's House on the Rock, and the return of the Jedis to Tunisia's Star Wars house. We've seen a huge stone pineapple in Scotland and discovered what makes Prague's dancing building so light on its feet. Now it's time to discover more of the world's most bizarre buildings. Our next bizarre building looks like something from fairyland, but you don't need wings to live here, just really good leg muscles. It's the House in the Clouds. This strange structure dominates the village of Thorpeness on England's east coast. It's a village where nothing is quite what it seems, least of all the House in the Clouds, owned by Sylvia Lacombe.
You look at it and you haven't seen anything quite like it before, and you cannot imagine what's inside. Most houses you can look at, can't you? And you have some idea what's inside. You look at this building, and you have no idea what's inside, have you?
In fact, the House in the Clouds began life as a humdrum water tower built by Glenn Stewart Ogilvie to provide supplies for his pretend medieval village. Today, his great-grandson still lives nearby.
He had this big, ugly steel structure, and he really didn't know what to do with it. And a friend of his, by the name of Mrs. Mason, said, if you turn it into a house, I will live in it. And that's how it came to be.
Ogilvie told Mrs. Mason it was to be called the gazebo.
She looked at it and she said, this isn't the gazebo, it's an ugly name. This is my house in the clouds.
And that's how it got its name.
Marjorie Mason, the children's writer, lived in the 5-story black stem of the House in the Clouds, with a 30,000-gallon water tank in the red house above her. Now the tank has been taken out, and the entire building is one of the world's most amazing vacation homes.
Children just love it. Yes, yes. I mean, they go straight up to the top and they don't come down again for quite a long while.
The house can comfortably sleep up to 12 people in bedrooms in the stem. The rooms inside brilliantly reflect the eccentric personality of the building itself, and for around $3,000, it can be yours for a week. Climbing the 77 stairs brings you to the most amazing room of all, the one that used to hold the water tank.
In it, we had 30,000 gallons of water.
The water tank was drained, broken down into tiny pieces, and passed out of one of the windows. The space is now an enormous games room. One of the second-story bedrooms has a spooky reputation.
Natasha, my daughter, came running down from her room and said, Mummy, who's that lady in my room? I said, well, I haven't seen anybody come in. 2 days later, we had a visit from the entire Mason family. They'd all come to England for their mother's funeral. He said when she died, and Natasha said, well, there was a lady in my room that day, and she described the lady, and Ivan said that was my mother.
Mrs. Mason hasn't been seen again since, but what you are guaranteed to see are amazing views across Thorpe Ness and its mere, a pleasure lake themed on the well-loved children's classic Peter Pan. Its author, J.M. Barrie, was a great friend of the village's founder, Glenn Stewart Ogilvie.
His philosophy was that if children were happy, parents had a holiday, and I think that holds as true now as it did back in 1900.
I think this place is wicked. I've been coming here since I was little.
Yeah, and it's just a nice summer place where you can hang out with your friends and relax, really.
And eat stupid amounts of sweets.
Yeah.
Just be really immature again.
But wherever you are in Thorpe Ness, you just can't help drawing your eyes up to the amazing house in the clouds.
For me, it's Alice in Wonderland. It's not quite real. I mean, I've grown up with it, I've looked at it and familiar with it. But I think why it's Alice in Wonderland for me, it's because, not for the structure or what it is, but you imagine things going on there that perhaps don't.
I mean, if I had the house in the clouds, it would be just a charm. It would be delightful. I would love it.
Too many steps and stairs. I'd prefer an ordinary one.
I think we're lovely.
It's not just vacationers who have appreciated the sight of this bizarre building. The house in the clouds gave great cheer to American airmen stationed in England during World War II.
When they were flying back to their base, used the house in the clouds as their marker for coming in. And once they saw the house in the clouds, again, it made them happy. It made them smile, because here we are, safe, alive, and back in England.
And if you stay in this bizarre building, it will make you smile as well.
You can come in the front door and you really can forget what's going on in the outside world. It really has that effect on you, I promise.
I think what great-grandfather with Mrs. Mason's influence actually managed to achieve was turning something very ugly into something that's attractive and eye-catching, and at the same time able to fulfill the purpose for which it was designed.
A water tower, a vacation home, and a beacon of hope. The house in the clouds is the perfect escape from the crazy world below. Coming up, meet Lucy, the 90-ton elephant who packed her trunk and made an amazing journey.
It was a sight that I can't even describe. To see this mammoth 6-story elephant being pulled by a little pickup truck.
The mailman who delivered a shock to his neighbors by building a weird palace in his back garden.
This is the most strange part of the whole building. This is a mixture of his dream and the Genesis book.
And discover Mexico's most shapely structure. Our quest for secrets of bizarre buildings comes to Barcelona, a Spanish city that even without this strange structure would still be one of the most colorful and exuberant cities on Earth. But what sends the city skyrocketing into the bizarre building big time is the work of Antoni Gaudi. His greatest creation is the cathedral Sagrada Familia.
Gaudi was an architect that has been the most important architect of the city of Barcelona. He was not born here, he was born in the countryside in Reus, but he came to the city to study how to be an architect.
As a country boy, the straight lines of the city didn't appeal to Gaudi at all. It's not hard to spot one of his creations, because with their wavy-wobbly looks, you could be forgiven for thinking they are made of jello.
I think that he used very organic shapes, and that attracts a lot of people. His shapes are so original that everybody wants to know a little bit about that.
Gaudi's early work revolutionized the design of apartment blocks. Here, turning a simple 7-story complex into a dazzling piece of sculpture with mysterious abstract figures on the roof. To walk among them is to enter a surreal landscape and a must for any visit to Barcelona.
I think that if a visitor comes to Barcelona, at least half, but I think more, than the buildings and monuments that this person will visit in Barcelona are by Gaudi. So Gaudi made Barcelona attractive for visitors.
I think it's a great city. A lot of neat architecture, a lot of, you feel there's a lot of culture here.
It's the best city of the world for me. I travel a lot, and for me, it's the best city.
But Barcelona's greatest attraction is also its most bizarre, the Sagrada Familia. To some, it looks like a huge mud pie. To others, a spaceship aimed straight at heaven. But whatever you think of the Sagrada Familia, this is truly a cathedral unlike any other on Earth. Originally intended to be a very conventional church like others in Old Barcelona, Gaudi took charge a year into the project and started again from scratch. Looking to nature for inspiration, he started a church whose mighty towers resembled a mountain range.
He wanted to do something really spectacular. When it is finished, it's going to have 80 towers, while today we can see only 8 of them.
Sagrada Familia means Holy Family, and Gaudi's hope in building the church was that the happy-go-lucky people of Barcelona would see it, and as a result, return to more Christian ways. Obsessed with his creation, it is said that Gaudi was deep in thought about his plans when he was knocked down and killed by a tram in 1926. Even if he had survived, it is unlikely he would have seen his church completed. The unfinished Sagrada Familia is set for completion in the year 2020, 140 years after it was first begun. Even in its incomplete state, it still attracts thousands of visitors who climb its towers and admire the amazing views of Barcelona. It's Barcelona's greatest treasure and one of the world's most bizarre buildings. Pack your trunk and let's go to the foggy New Jersey coast to meet our next bizarre building, Lucy the Elephant. Made of over 12,000 sheets of metal, 1 million individual pieces of timber, and weighing in at 90 tons, Lucy is a heavyweight contender for the title of the world's most bizarre building.
Lucy is special because she's part of American culture. She's a part of American history. She's the last surviving piece of zoomorphic architecture, and she's unique in the world.
Lucy has stood on the seafront at Margate, New Jersey for over 120 years. And her story has been one of survival against the odds that would give even her cousins in the wild a run for their money. To find out more, visitors have to enter the doorway in Lucy's leg.
Welcome to Lucy the Elephant, the only elephant in the world you can pass through and come out alive.
This Margate mammoth was built by James Lafferty, a 19th century real estate agent and bizarre building visionary. He bought land around Margate City, and Lucy's amazing structure was key to selling the condominiums he was building here.
Well, it's misty out today, but on a clear day, you could see for miles on end. And that's how Mr. Lafferty would conduct his business. He would take people up to the howdah and show them parcels of land that they would buy. This was all thanks to Lucy.
History tells us that Lafferty used to bring people in through Lucy's left leg into her main salon, the belly, where he had a desk set up, and he would do a little speech about what they were going to see, and then he would take them up on the howdah and he would point out the different lots that he had for sale. Then he would bring them down and hopefully close a deal.
So successful was Lucy at attracting admiring crowds that Lafferty had her patented, and for 17 years, no one in America was allowed to build an animal-shaped building of any kind without his permission.
Lucy was very successful as a real estate gimmick because obviously he sold his real estate holdings. And the attraction has never died, even till today. Tourists come by the thousands.
I was very excited when I first saw, because I've been waiting to come and see Lucy the Elephant for a while, so we were very excited when we pulled up.
The best part of Lucy for me is seeing the face of a child when they arrive here for the first time and they look up and they see this mammoth 6-story elephant. Their mouth drops open, their eyes get as big as all, and they're just amazed and overwhelmed by the size of Lucy.
I think Lucy's a friendly elephant, and I would like her to be my friend.
Lucy is now a National Historic Landmark, but she has not always been so well looked after. After Lafferty sold her, she became home to an eccentric English doctor whose bathroom you can still see. Later, she became a rowdy tavern whose revelers nearly destroyed her on countless occasions.
It was before electricity had been introduced, so they were using kerosene lanterns. People would get a little too fired up from drinking and they'd knock over the kerosene and start little fires.
Lucy is even the world's most incredible navigational aid, as she is visible 8 miles out to sea, though not on a day like this.
There's a story in our history book that says a pirate looked out through the mast, through the viewfinder, and said, "Elephant." And they took him down. They thought he had been on the sea too long.
Despite her many uses, much-loved Lucy was slated for demolition in 1969, having become neglected and dangerous. Her owners no longer cared for her, and it is said she had been badly damaged by drunks who attacked her after mistaking her for a real elephant. An association got together to save her, and the owners made them an offer.
They came to the city of Margate and said, "You can have the elephant structure, but you have to move it. And if it falls, you have to clean it up," because it was in such disrepair.
So began Lucy's incredible journey, moving 2 blocks south along the road in an operation that took 7 nail-biting hours.
It was a sight that I can't even describe, to see this mammoth 6-story elephant being pulled by a little pickup truck.
$1.5 million later, Lucy is a fully restored, bizarre building, waiting for you to visit her and fall in love. Up next, this building was a mailman's dream, but it was his neighbor's nightmare.
They call him Cheval de Fou, a crazy man, a really insane man.
And we reveal the naked truth about a bizarre building in Mexico. It looks like a Maharaja's palace, but next up in Secrets of Bizarre Buildings was the work of a humble French mailman, and it stands in his backyard. Visitors have been drawn to the mailman's palace in Hauterive since the 1920s, when Christophe Bonin's grandmother was the first ever guide. Now it is his turn to help us explore the weird world of mailman Ferdinand Cheval.
Cheval was a strange mailman. He was dreaming all day long, walking 30 kilometers to 40 kilometers a day, dreaming of caves, grottos, castles, dreaming all day long.
Out on his rounds one day, Cheval stumbled upon this odd-shaped stone. At that second, he had a life-changing moment of revelation. With stones like these, he realized he could turn the surreal images he saw in his dreams into solid reality in his back garden. Unsurprisingly, it didn't go down too well with his neighbors.
They call him Cheval de Fou, a crazy man, a really insane man.
After a long day on his mail round, Cheval would go out with his beloved wheelbarrow and collect stones. As night fell, he set to work by candlelight, building, carving, and molding the palace he had seen in his dreams. One whole side of the palace was based on the Garden of Eden, complete with Adam, Eve, and a menagerie of weird, wonderful, and often disturbing creatures.
This is the most strange part of the whole building. This is a mixture of his dream and the Genesis book.
Visitors are often perplexed by the cascade of weird images. Cheval tried to explain his vision by building 3 enormous giants named after figures in history.
These giants are a connection between the earth and the sky. Look at the ends of Vercingétorix. One is pointing to the sky and the other to the earth.
For 33 years, Cheval was a mailman by day and a master mason by night. He lived on just 2 or 3 hours sleep, and his bewildered neighbors believed he had gone mad.
I wouldn't say you had to be mad to build something like this, just perhaps certainly a very interesting character. I wouldn't want to write him off as mad just yet, I don't think. You think about postmen in an entirely new way, I think. It sheds a new light on them. It's fantastic. I would love to have met the man. He must have had a fascinating mind to be able to build something like this.
One thing that it reminds me of with the palm trees is the cover of the Eagles album Hotel California, which is the sort of balmy association that I think he would have appreciated.
When Cheval completed the palace, it was 70 meters long and 10 meters high. Now at the height of his artistic powers, he turned to decorating the interior. He lavished his greatest attention to the inside of his palace, making it every bit as strange as the outside, decorated with human and animal figures. Nearing the end of his life, he intended this to be his final resting place. Predictably, the villagers stood in his way.
Because of the law, it was forbidden, and the mayor of the village here decided to not allow him to stay here.
If it could not be the grave for Cheval, he made sure it was the final resting place for his most constant companion.
Cheval couldn't be buried in his palace, but his companion could, his wheelbarrow.
Cheval was told he would have to be buried in the village churchyard, so he turned his attention there, creating another world-beatingly bizarre building, which was to be his tomb.
Cheval started at his tomb at the age of 78 and finished at the age of 86. I guess work keeps you alive.
20 months later, Cheval was dead, but soon afterwards, none other than Pablo Picasso hailed him as a genius. As visitors flocked to Hauterive to see the amazing palace, the villagers at last had to acknowledge that their mailman might just have been an artistic mastermind.
And now it's a nice man for Autrive because a lot of people from United States, from Japan, from England, from everywhere in the world, they came here to see a place which is unique in the world.
It's not to everyone's taste, but whether you think Ferdinand Cheval was a genius or just the ultimate nuisance neighbor, you have to admit it's a bizarre building. In Secrets of Bizarre Buildings, we've met the shark that caused a splash in Oxford, dared to walk out across the House on the Rocks' Infinity Room, and cross lightsabers with the Star Wars house. We've puzzled over a pineapple in Chile, Scotland, two-stepped alongside Fred and Ginger in Prague, and seen the ultimate high-rise in Great Britain. In Barcelona, we've paid homage to the Sagrada Familia, fallen in love with Lucy, Margate City's pet elephant, and stepped into the amazing dreamland of a humble French mailman. But now, it's time to strip bare the secrets of our final bizarre building. It's the Naked Woman House in Rosarito, Mexico. Artist Armando Munoz Garcia is a lucky man. He shares his life with two beautiful women. One is Isabel Magana, his girlfriend. The other is 3 stories high, made of concrete, and is considerably higher maintenance. Her name is simply Eve.
I call her Eve because Eve was the first woman in Earth, as well as this house was the first house in Earth with the shape of the woman.
Having spent 7 years and $80,000 creating a house shaped like a naked woman, it could be said that Armando has more than a passing appreciation for the female form.
Well, I like women because I'm just a regular man, you know, and I like women because they are very, very pretty. They are like my girlfriend, you see.
Armando built Eve using a revolutionary concrete and mesh technique that he invented himself, and she is unique in the world. Amazingly, the neighbors love her. Perhaps that's because she's got such a great body.
In Mexico, there's a lot of beautiful women, but not as bonita as my Eva Marina.
Although Eve is known as the Naked Woman House, she is in fact a mermaid, cooling off in a swimming pool from the hot Mexican sun. Working out the geography of Armando's amazing house has always been a puzzle for his more conventionally minded neighbors. But he is only too happy to explain his living arrangements to us.
This is my living room!
Eve's tummy is the very heart of the house, complete with a hot tub, more of Armando's artwork, and a kitchen where Isabel prepares traditional Mexican dishes for her boyfriend. For Armando, the hot tub is central to Eve's whole design.
Well, I put the jacuzzi in the womb because I want to resemble the way probably we were in our mother's womb, you know, because we can stay in the water, in the warm water, inside the womb, as well as we are in the jacuzzi. Well, the sensations of being here is like floating in another, well, I can say in another dimension. Believe me, it's like floating in an anatomy.
If Armando's living room is a womb with a view, there are no prizes for guessing where he decided to locate his sleeping quarters.
Living inside a naked woman is great. This is my bedroom.
Well, this is my bedroom, and this is Eva's left breast, where I have my bed to enjoy my dreams.
Armando's waking hours are filled with his plans for Eve's head, the unfinished third and final story of the Naked Woman House.
When I'll finish the head, I'm going to install a telescope, a refractor telescope, in my own office, right at the head. The hair is going to be concrete too, and it's going to be, you know, big long hair and curly hair.
Men of all ages, and even some women, are drawn from all over the world to visit Armando's amazing, bizarre building. But to the artist, it's just the place that he and Isabel call home. So, how much fun do you have living inside a naked woman?
Oh, a lot. Probably 2 tons of fun.
So if you come down Mexico way, Armando will be only too happy to give you two a personal tour and tell you all about Eve, one of the world's most bizarre buildings. These bizarre buildings all seem to be something from another planet, but they're all waiting to be discovered right here on Earth.